What occurs when the country's most beloved couple, the ones who bring a smile to everyone's face every morning, all of a sudden starts sobbing on live television? This is the moment when Kelly Ripa, who is always so composed and animated, finds herself utterly speechless. As her rock-solid companion Mark Consul struggles to maintain his cool in front of an audience of millions. What I'm about to tell you, my friends, is not your average celebrity scandal. Here we are talking about unadulterated sadness. One of the most beloved couples on television fell to their knees in front of the cameras, completely helpless, after suffering a profound loss. This is the scene that made people cry, and I'm going to describe it to you. A heartbreaking moment that showed us that even our beloved TV idols can experience such pain. There was a pause before Kelly could finish speaking. As Mark attempted to reassure her, his voice quivered. Their anguish was shared by the whole country. However, it is imperative that you grasp this. More than simply tears are involved in this story. Decades-long love is the subject. There's a level of commitment and intimacy in it that the rest of us can only imagine. And you'll understand why this didn't simply cause the internet to crash by the time you finish reading this. It moved countless people. What Kelly revealed in those last, painful moments will transform your perspective on family loss and the meaning of life. So I implore you to stay with me till the very end. Return with me to that unexpected Wednesday morning. Friday, February 5th, as usual on Kelly and Mark's Live. Rolling footage began to be captured. Everyone in the studio was ready for their morning fix of entertainment. However, something seemed off. The expression on Kelly's face was telling you something. As soon as Mark Consuelo began to talk, the audience was captivated. Yesterday was a challenging day. Yesterday, we said our goodbyes to Chewy. The family's beloved Shih Tzu, Chewy, who was 17 years old, had lived there for nearly 20 years. The puppy who had made countless appearances on the show, making millions of people smile. However, it wasn't limited to Mark's announcement. The response came from Kelly. Shrugging her shoulders, she buried her head in her hands. A tremor ran down her spine. Americans knew Kelly Ripa as a polished professional. This was not her. It was clear that this woman's heart was in pain. Even Mark's voice shook as he continued. For a few days, she didn't eat because she was experiencing some neurological issues. We had made the tough choice. They had a heartfelt farewell in their New York City living room when the veterinarian visited to their house. Mark agreed that it was one of the most challenging things they had to accomplish as a married couple. At that moment, Kelly's composure crumbled, because the loss of a pet wasn't the only thing at stake. Something much deeper was at the heart of everything. Everything would be clarified by her next revelation. What makes Kelly's sadness so profound and what makes her story special are these things. Chewy was more than just a puppy they got from a dog breeder. She saved the day. In fact, they discovered her in the midst of airing their show in 2007. It was 18 years ago during a live pet adoption show that Kelly adopted Chewy. Seeing the small Shih Tzu on stage made Kelly's heart melt. She acted without hesitation. She was completely unconcerned. As soon as she laid eyes on the puppy, she understood he belonged with them. Mark stated that we would not have known about Chewy if the show hadn't been. His voice betrayed a blend of thankfulness and sorrow. For nearly 20 years, Chewy was more than just a pet. A friend, she was. She was a regular guest on the show for a long period. Everybody watched as she went from a little puppy in need of a home to a cherished senior dog. She joined the American family's extended live-in relatives. All three of Kelly's children, Joaquin, 21, Michael, and Lola, 23, grew up with Chewy. While airing the show, Mark considered this. Our kid's mom was one of theirs. Give that some thought. Graduations, first dates, and college acceptances were all witnessed by Chewy. Every important moment in a family's history was shared by her. As they grew up, she saw the kids transform. Throughout the nearly 20 years of transformation, she remained a steadfast presence. Just around 13 years is the typical lifespan of a shoe. There was a 17-year lifespan for Chewy. Wow, that's incredible. The attention and compassion she received in that place was truly remarkable. Something even more fundamental about Chewy's significance to Kelly was revealed by her heartfelt emotions on TV. Any person would be moved to tears by this fact. Kelly muttered something that showed the real depth as she attempted to recover on live, dabbing at her eyes with her frock. The story hinges on a comment Kelly made while trying to collect herself on air while rubbing her eyes with her frock. The comment indicated the extent of her grief. Finally, she spoke up, glancing at Mark and the crowd as she did so. Her gifts were abundant. This dog has filled us with gratitude. While our children departed for college and eventually struck out on their own, Chewy stayed by our side, a constant companion. Everyone finally got it at that point. Losing a dog wasn't the only thing at stake here. An era was coming to a close with this. It dealt with the tragic last chapter of a page dedicated to 20 years of family parenting. Here, we will dissect it. All of us, Michael, Lola, and myself, are adults now. Their lives are taking shape now that they're out of the home. Mark and Kelly have been forthright and humorous about their impending empty nester status. The reality of an empty nest, though, is that it is never truly empty so long as there is a caretaker around. The loyal friend was Chewy. There was only one more bird in the nest than her. She embodied the spirit of the 20 years their home was a whirlwind of activity and love with their 3 children. Whether it was the first step or the first heartbreak, she was there. Michael learned to drive with her at his side. Whenever Lola went to prom, she was there. Seeing Wachine off to college was her reason for being there. Chewy remained in the house even after everyone had departed and the noise had subsided. Only she continued to require their assistance. Kelly had previously referred to her as their 4th child. Because of her unfailing support, the house never stopped feeling like a permanent home for the family. It was more than the death of a pet when she passed away. It was the symbolic end of that period in their lives. The familiar feeling of an empty nest returned. However, this time it would last forever. Chewy will not have a college break to return home from. Well, now the home is dead silent. All of that realization hit Kelly like a ton of bricks as she was on camera. The plot, however, takes a more intimate turn. Every pet owner could feel the intimacy and authenticity of Kelly's sharing, which she did through her tears. Chewy, she said, was quite possessive of her face and behaved similarly to a cat. She was not a dog that liked having her face kissed. However, Kelly went on to reveal this, her voice cracking with emotion. Following her passing last night, I planted 1,000 kisses on her face. I leaned forward and kissed her on the nose. Never before had I kissed her nose. I know that she was like somewhere in dog heaven, pissed off. But I didn't care because it was so nice to have that right there is grief. She joked while sobbing. It's the last, desperate act of love. Even though it's past the time, it's the I love you that you can finally say without hesitation. It was an unadulterated expression of love and grief. Really remarkable, though, is that Kelly felt compelled to express regret for her suffering. I feel terrible breaking down in front of you when there are bigger problems in the world, and I get that, she remarked. But you must realize how unique this dog was. Just so you know, I have never heard something so relatable. A lot of people share that sentiment. Disenfranchised grief is the name given to it. When you have a pet, you could feel that your suffering is insignificant. You can't grieve a dog the same way you grieve a human being because society frowns upon it. At work, you won't receive bereavement days. Just get another one, is the common piece of advice. However, Kelly Ripa performed an act of public service when she and Mark worked together at that moment. They validated that anguish in front of millions of people with their real, gut-wrenching sobs. They stressed that this was no ordinary pet, someone from our family here. Among our most challenging endeavors to date. Remember, this hurts. An enormous and rapid response ensued. It wasn't that the internet was down. A flood was brewing. A deluge of encouragement, an overflow of love, and, most importantly, an overflow of tales. In the comment sections, tens of thousands of viewers flocked, not to discuss Kelly and Mark, but to brag about their own Chewies. Their beloved and departed rescue cats, beagles, labs, and mutts were topics of conversation. They each recounted anecdotes about loyal friends. The loss of Kelly and Mark touched the hearts of people all throughout the country. They may have been the first to officially acknowledge the right of people to mourn the loss of a beloved pet. Their example proved that the love that lasts 17 years between a human and an animal is just as genuine and deep as any other kind of love. And Chewy's adoration extended far beyond their 4 walls. Kelly made a joke about how presidential Chewy's exit procession was. She stated that all individuals, people they knew to their mail carrier, arrived, where they live, to bid farewell. It has. Dog was an adored part of their whole community. There's no greater lesson than this. Right here. That one I said I'd give you when we were. First step. We observe individuals such as Kelly and Mark's daily TV appearances. Is evident that allure, professional success, ideal, smiles. But at that very instant, everything slipped away. Plus, we noticed not one, but two, a married couple, clutching each other, climbing on each other's backs while negotiating a all-encompassing and distressing of existence. The tale told here, that of Chewy, doesn't primarily concern famous people in regards to important things. The point is that a young puppy in need of adoption, one that someone else's trash can trample on television and win over, and their family for the past 18 years. The point is that even the simple things, the routine strolls,